You finally stopped waiting. You deleted the contact, blocked the number, and let the notifications go silent. For the first time in months, you started sleeping through the night. You began to rebuild your life in the quiet, reclaiming a sense of peace you once thought was lost. You felt a steady certainty that you were moving forward. You were, for all intents and purposes, free. Then the screen glows. It isn't a grand manifesto or a deep confession. It's usually something small, a thinking of you, a shared memory, or a casual question about a book you once mentioned. It arrives with almost uncanny timing, right as your guard has finally lowered. In an instant, that hard-won piece feels a little less solid. You find yourself wondering, was leaving a mistake? Have they finally changed? To understand why this happens, we have to look past the message and observe the behavior behind it. This isn't just a text. It's a specific psychological pattern that often emerges when the balance of a relationship shifts. In many complex dynamics, there is a period of gradual emotional depletion, months spent navigating a situation where your needs were secondary, trying to solve a problem that had no clear answer. Eventually, the weight became too much. You made the difficult choice to prioritize your own well-being. That initial silence was heavy, but you used it to heal. You reconnected with old friends, rediscovered forgotten hobbies, and started carving out a life that felt authentically yours. You convinced yourself the chapter was closed. But human nature is rarely comfortable with a closed door, especially for those who are used to having the key. When that sudden "happy birthday" or "I saw this and thought of you" arrives, it's easy to view it through a lens of hope. We want to believe communication is a sign of transformation, that the time away was spent in deep reflection. However, in some unhealthy dynamics, contact can function as a form of boundary testing. Like a surveyor checking for cracks in a structure, the sender may be testing to see if your boundaries are still firm or if they have softened with time. They may not be looking to reconcile. They might simply be checking to see if the door is still unlocked. Consider the "I miss you" message. In some cases, this functions as emotional bypassing. By leading with a strong sentiment, the sender may be attempting to skip the difficult work of accountability. It is a shortcut designed to trigger nostalgia, that powerful mental filter that remembers the warmth of the fire while forgetting the smoke that made it hard to breathe. Then there is the pseudo-apology, the vague "I'm sorry for everything." While it sounds like a peace offering, it often lacks the specific insight required for real growth. In certain situations, this serves as a way for a person to ease their own discomfort and regain a foothold in your life without addressing the behaviors that caused the rift. There is also the temperature check. These are low-stakes, casual probes. "How have you been?" or "just thinking of you." These aren't necessarily invitations to talk. They are tools to gauge your responsiveness. It is a low-risk way to see if they still occupy a space in your thoughts. This points to a deeper tendency, the search for validation and access. For some, your silence isn't just distance. It is a challenge to their sense of importance. Reaching out, especially when you are thriving, can be an attempt to regain a sense of presence. The contact can sometimes restore a sense of influence or validation, even without leading to reconciliation. A third mechanism at play is intermittent reinforcement. This is the same logic that makes a slot machine effective. If a machine never paid out, you'd walk away. But if it pays out just enough, unpredictably and rarely, you stay tethered to the possibility of a win. When someone returns with a rare moment of kindness after a long silence, it can keep you emotionally bonded to an unresolved pattern. We often exhaust ourselves playing detective. We spend hours decoding punctuation, timing, and intent, believing that if we can just understand why they reached out, we'll finally have closure. But this search for the why is an emotional trap. It keeps you waiting for an answer the other person may not even possess. This is where we encounter the most important shift in perspective, the quiet breakthrough that changes the entire landscape of your recovery. Up until now, the focus has been entirely on the sender, their motives, and their potential for change. The main twist is this. The most significant part of that message isn't why they sent it. The true significance lies in what the message causes you to do. The mystery isn't in their mind. The mystery is in your reaction. Instead of asking, why did they come back? The more empowering question is, what does their return do to my peace? Does it bring a sense of grounded safety, or does it trigger a familiar, hollow anxiety? Does it honor the person you've become, or does it ask you to shrink back into the person you worked so hard to outgrow? This shift is profoundly liberating. It means your healing no longer requires their cooperation or a confession. You don't need a complex breakdown of their inner world to recognize that your peace is being disrupted. If their presence consistently leads to doubt or a step backward, that is all the data you truly need. Your own well-being is the only compass that matters. We often wait for a final talk, or a moment of total honesty that never arrives. This resembles what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency for unfinished experiences to remain mentally active. By reaching out with a vague message, the sender may be reopening that loop, whether intentionally or not. But you have the power to close the file yourself. You don't need them to provide the ending. You can write it through your own silence and your own boundaries. True recovery isn't about waiting for them to change. It's about observing how you respond to the lack of change. A single message is just a data point. A year of respectful, consistent behavior is a pattern. Until the pattern changes, the words are simply noise. Consistency is the only metric that holds weight. You are no longer a participant in that old dynamic. You are the architect of your own space. You protect that space not by controlling who tries to reach you, but by mastering your reaction when they do. You realize you don't owe your emotional energy to every ghost that decides to reappear. Let's look at that notification one last time, the one that arrived just as you were finding your footing. At the start of this conversation, it looked like a massive question mark. It felt like a mystery that needed to be solved, a sign that perhaps you should reconsider everything. But after seeing the pattern for what it is, the meaning changes. The message is no longer a question mark, it is a period. It is a confirmation that you were right to move on. It is a sign that your boundaries are working and that the life you've built is finally, authentically yours. The notification isn't an invitation to go back. It's proof of how far you've already come. The hardest part of this journey usually isn't spotting the pattern. It's learning to trust yourself once you see it. What was more difficult for you, recognizing the behavior or trusting your own intuition to stay the course? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. If this exploration brought you a sense of clarity, consider subscribing. We explore these dynamics to help you navigate your relationships with more awareness and less static. Until next time, stay grounded and keep prioritizing your hard-won peace.